Good morning. All the students of Standard 11 are most welcome to my video teaching. Today, I, N.K. Haldar from DAV Public School CCL Giridih, am going to talk about the first prose chapter, that is the portrait of a lady written by Khusbant Singh. Dear children, as you all know, that Khusbant Singh was an Indian author, diplomat, lawyer, journalist, and politician. His experience in the 1947 partition of India inspired him to write Train to Pakistan, which later on became his most well-known novel. He was conferred with Padma Bhushan Award in 1974, but he returned in 1984 in protest against the Operation Blue Star, in which the Indian Army raided Amritsar. In 2007, he was bestowed with Padma Vibhushan, which is the second Indian civilian award. Okay. In this chapter, the portrait of a lady, he draws a pen picture of his grandmother. He also describes how he spent his childhood with her in his village, and he describes that the separation that came in their relationship with the passage of time in the city, and ultimately he points out the death scene of her grandmother and its reflection on nature. Okay, let us know about the story in details with the help of main points. So, dear children, the first point is the image of grandmother in the portrait. As we all know that in the portrait of a lady, Khusbant Singh has given an account of his grandmother. He said that his grandmother was a short lady. She was fat and slightly bent. She couldn't walk straight. She hobbled about the house. She had to keep one hand on her waist. It was to balance her stoop. In the other, she held a rosary. She was always telling the beads. Her lips constantly moved in prayer. She put on white clothes, her silver locks scattered over her pale face. She looked like snowy mountain. She was a picture of peace and contentment. She was very old, and the writer says that perhaps she could not have looked older. She looked the same for the last 20 years. So, dear children, here we find that the author has compared the grandmother with winter landscape in the mountain. Why? Now, the stretch of snow over the mountains looks equally white and peaceful as his grandmother wearing white sari, silver hair looks. So her silvery locks and white dress made her look like the winter landscape in the mountains. Okay, and on the other hand, the writer also says that the grandmother had a divine beauty. Okay. Second point, the appearance of narrator's grandfather in the portrait. He also describes his grandfather in brief. He only said that his grandfather's picture hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. Okay, and He said that his grandfather looked very old. He had a long white beard. His clothes were loose fitting. He wore a big turban. He looked too old to have a wife or children. He looked at least 100 years old. He could have only lots and lots of grandchildren. Okay? Now, the third point, three phases of author's relationship with his grandmother. Okay, students, now we can see that before he left the country to study abroad, we can divide his relationship with his grandmother into three phases. One is childhood, second boyhood, and the third is early youth. So in childhood, we see that Khusban Singh and his grandmother were very good friends. His parents, when his parents went to city, they left him with her in the village. She took good care of him. Always she took good care. She used to make him up in the morning. She got him ready for the school. She said her morning prayer in sing-song manner. She hoped that he would learn in by heart. He liked her voice but never bothered to learn the prayer. Then she would fetch his wooden slate. She had already washed it and plastered it with yellow chalk. She would take an earthen ink pot and a red pen. She would tie them in a bundle and hand it to him. Okay? So in this way, we find that during childhood, they were very good friends. In boyhood, when he went to the city school in a bus, he shared a room, but the narrator used to go to school in the motor bus. There were no drops in the streets, and grandmother no longer went to school with his grandson. Okay? And in third phase, that is in early youth, we see that the narrator went to university. He was given a room of his own. The common link of friendship was broken. And gradually, the grandmother had to accept her loneliness quietly. Now, the fourth point, the happiest half hour of the day for the grandmother. Dear students, actually in this point, I am going to discuss that years rolled by and the narrator was gradually growing up. How the narrator's grandmother would spend his time. So, what we see that she lived alone in her room as she had accepted her loneliness quietly. Okay? And she sat at her spinning wheel and recited prayers. In this way, she wanted to spend her days. And one more thing, we see that in the afternoon, she would feed the sparrows for half an hour. Okay? Actually, for Khusban Singh's grandmother, there was none other pastime and happy activity than that of feeding the sparrows in the afternoon for half an hour. The sparrows could be seen sometimes perching on her legs, sometimes on her shoulders, sometimes on her head. But she never became annoyed. The sparrows were never shooed away by her. Okay? Actually, because she became happy with this movement. Yes, now point number 5, grandmother's annoyance in sending her grandson to the city school. Yes, children, author's grandmother was really very disturbed when he started going to the city school. Okay, why? Because the environment of the village school was totally different. In village, his grandmother always went to school with him. The school was attached to the temple. The priest taught children the alphabet and the morning prayers. The children sat in 2 rows in the veranda. They would sing the alphabet or the prayers in a chorus. The grandmother sat inside the temple. She would read holy books. Then they would walk home together. The village dogs would gather at the temple door. They threw chapatis to them. But such situations were not same in the city school. Okay, the teaching was totally different. And the author's grandmother hated Western science and learning. She was pained to know that there was no teaching of God and scriptures in the city school. One more thing is that she was allergic to music. She thought it was not meant for decent people. Music is not meant for decent people and gentle folk. Generally, she thought that it was the monopoly of prostitutes and beggars. So she never liked. Point number 6, the religious view of the author's grandmother. Yeah, dear children, from the discussions what I have done still now, I hope that you have understood that author's grandmother was indeed a religious lady. We come to know this through the different ways of her behavior. She visited the temple every morning and read scriptures. At home, she always mumbled inaudible prayers and kept telling the beads of rosary. She would repeat prayers in a sing-song manner while getting the writer ready for the school. She hoped that her grandson would learn the prayer by heart. She didn't like English school. Why? Because she came to know that there was no teaching of God and scripture. So, even while spinning at her spinning wheel, she would recite prayers. Perhaps it was only once that she forgot to pray. That was the evening prior to her death, when she felt overexcited. No, overexcited when? To celebrate the arrival of her grandson. And as a penance, she continued praying and telling beads of her rosary till her last breath. Okay? Yes. Number 7, behavioral change of the author's grandmother before her death. Yes, students. The day when the narrator came back, in that evening, she didn't pray. There was a strange change in her behavior. She was overexcited. She celebrated the arrival of her grandson. She collected all the women of the neighborhood. For hours she continued singing and beating the drum, thumping the drum. She had to be persuaded to stop to avoid overstraining. Perhaps it was the first time that she didn't pray. What the author wants to mean that perhaps the grandmother realized that her end was near. She continued praying as a penance. She continued praying. Her fingers were busy in telling the beads of her rosary. She lay peacefully in bed. She didn't talk to anyone. But after some time, her lips stopped moving. The rosary fell down from her fingers and she breathed her last peacefully. Point number 8. Homage paid by mourning sparrows on grandmother's death. Yes, students, at the end of the story, the narrator points out the death scene. The grandmother lay dead in the courtyard and wrapped with red shawl. Thousands of sparrows came there. They didn't cheer up. They paid their last homage to the old lady silently. She used to feed them regularly. The narrator's mother also that day threw some crumbs of bread to them. But the sparrows took no notice of them. They didn't care for the bread's crumbs. As soon as the grandmother's corpse was carried off, they all flew away quietly. Okay? So, dear students, we see that the story portrays a grandson's perception of his grandmother and how their bond of love undergoes changes. The story also puts light on the companionship and friendship felt by our elders. Okay? Thank you.